The bitter taste hit my tongue 3 sips in. Not coffee bitter, something else underneath. Something chemical that made my mouth feel thick and strange. I set the cup down on my kitchen table, my hand already starting to feel heavy, and looked up at my son Terrell and his wife Candace sitting across from me. "You feeling okay, Mama?" Candace asked, but her eyes were too bright, too focused. She leaned forward in her chair like she was watching something about to happen. That's when I knew. Lord have mercy, that's when I knew what they'd done. "I'm fine," I said, but my words came out slower than they should. My tongue felt swollen in my mouth. I tried to stand up, but my legs wouldn't cooperate right. The kitchen, my kitchen where I'd cooked Sunday dinners for 40 years, started tilting sideways. Terrell stood up quick. "Mama, sit down before you fall." "What did you put in my coffee?" I managed to ask, gripping the edge of the table. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Nothing, Mama," Candace said, but she was pulling papers out of her purse now, spreading them on the table in front of me. "We just need you to sign these real quick. Just some banking stuff. Power of attorney so we can help you manage things." Power of attorney. The room was spinning now, but my mind was still sharp enough to understand. They wanted access to the money. The $750,000 life insurance payout from my parents' deaths 3 months ago. They thought it was sitting in my account, waiting for them to take it. They didn't know it was already gone. "I'm not signing nothing," I said, but my words were slurring together. I tried to push back from the table, but my arms felt like they weighed 100 pounds each. "Come on now, Mama." Terrell's voice had an edge to it I'd never heard before. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You're getting older. You need help managing your finances. We're family. We're just trying to look out for you." My vision was getting blurry around the edges. I could see Candace pushing a pen into my hand, guiding it toward the paper. In that moment, lying there helpless in my own kitchen while my son and his wife tried to rob me, I thought about everything that had led to this terrible morning. It started the day we buried my parents. Mama and Daddy died within 2 weeks of each other, the way couples married for 60 years sometimes do. Daddy had a heart attack in his sleep, and Mama just gave up after that. Doctor said it was pneumonia, but I knew better. She died of a broken heart. The funeral was at Greater Hope Baptist, the church where Daddy had been a deacon for 30 years and where Mama directed the choir. The building was packed, people standing in the back, sitting in folding chairs in the aisles. My parents had been pillars of the community, and everybody came to say goodbye. I sat in the front pew between my brother Raymond and my son Terrell. Ray held my hand the whole service, the way he'd been holding it since we were kids walking to school together in the 60s. Terrell sat stiff beside me, checking his phone every few minutes. "Put that away," I whispered. "I'm waiting on an important call," he said, not even looking up. Candace sat on his other side, her face arranged in what she probably thought looked like grief. But I'd known this woman for 15 years. I could spot fake concern when I saw it. After the burial, we had the repast back at the church. The sisters from the kitchen committee had outdone themselves. Fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, sweet potato pie. People came through the line telling stories about Mama and Daddy, laughing and crying the way we do when we celebrate a life well lived. Ray pulled me aside near the dessert table. "You holding up okay, Bee?" "I'm making it," I said, "taking it one day at a time." He squeezed my shoulder. Ray was 3 years older than me, 71 to my 68, but he still looked strong and healthy. He'd retired from the post office 5 years ago and spent his time now volunteering at the community center and spoiling his grandkids. "Listen," he said, his voice dropping low. "I know this isn't the time, but we need to talk about the estate. The lawyers want to meet next week." I nodded. Mama and Daddy hadn't been rich, but they'd been smart. They'd kept up their life insurance policies all these years, and between the two of them, there was $750,000 sitting waiting to be distributed. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. The lawyer's office was downtown, in one of those old buildings with high ceilings and dark wood everywhere. Mr. Foster had handled my parents' affairs for 20 years. He was a short black man with silver hair and glasses that slid down his nose when he talked. "Mrs. Washington," he said to me, "your parents left very clear instructions. The life insurance is to be split evenly between you and your brother Raymond. That's $375,000 each." I felt the number settle over me like a weight. It was more money than I'd ever had in my life. More money than I'd ever imagined having. "They also left the house to you, Beatrice," Mr. Foster continued. "Raymond, they left you their car and the savings account, which has about $45,000 in it." Ray and I looked at each other. We weren't crying. We'd done our crying at the funeral. But we both understood what this meant. Mama and Daddy had worked their whole lives, denied themselves things, saved every penny they could, all so they could leave something behind for their children. "Thank you, Mr. Foster," Ray said, shaking his hand. We walked out of that office together, neither of us saying much. The late October sun was bright, making the fallen leaves on the sidewalk glow orange and yellow. "You know Terrell's going to come asking," Ray said finally. I stopped walking. "What do you mean?" Ray gave me a look. "Come on, B. You know what I mean. He's been having money troubles for years. That gambling problem didn't just go away because he said it did." My stomach dropped. I wanted to defend my son, wanted to say Ray was wrong, but I couldn't. Terrell had always had a weakness for the cards, the dice, the slot machines. For the past 10 years, it had gotten worse. He'd borrowed money from me, from Ray, from friends. He'd promised each time it was the last time. "Maybe he's changed," I said. But even I didn't believe it. "And Candace." Ray shook his head. "That woman sees dollar signs everywhere she looks. You come into this money, they're going to be circling like vultures." I wanted to tell him he was being too harsh, but deep down I knew he was right. I'd seen the way Candace looked at nice things, always comparing what we had to what other people had. I'd heard her on the phone with her sister, complaining about how they were living check to check, even though Terrell had a good job at the water department. "What should I do?" I asked. Ray was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Be careful. That's all I'm saying. Just be careful." The money hit my account 2 weeks later. I watched the numbers appear on my phone screen, $375,000, and felt dizzy. I called Ray immediately. "It's there," I said. "Mine too," he said. "Listen, let's both sit on this for a while. Don't tell anybody. Don't make any big decisions. Let the dust settle." I agreed. But the dust didn't get a chance to settle. That very evening, Terrell showed up at my house. "Hey, Mama," he said, giving me a hug at the door. "Just wanted to check on you, see how you're doing." We sat in the living room, the same living room where I'd raised him, where he'd played with his toy cars on the carpet and done his homework at the coffee table. Now he sat across from me, 42 years old, and I could see the hunger in his eyes. "I heard the insurance money came through," he said, trying to sound casual. "Who told you that?" "I ran into Mr. Foster's secretary at the grocery store. She mentioned it." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Mama, I need to talk to you about something." Here it comes, I thought. Me and Candace, we're in a tight spot, real tight. We got some debts we need to handle, and I was thinking, I mean, you got all that money now, and you don't really need it all, right? You got your pension from the hospital, you got Social Security. What do you need $375,000 for? I felt something crack inside my chest. Terrell, that's my parents' legacy. That's what they worked their whole lives for. And they'd want you to help your family, wouldn't they? I'm your son, Mama. Your only child. Zara and Kamari. They're your grandchildren. Don't you want to help us? How much are we talking about? He looked away. Maybe 100,000? Just to clear everything up. Get us back on our feet. $100,000. I thought about what Ray had said about the gambling, about Candace and her spending. If I gave them this money, where would it go? How long before they needed more? I need to think about it, I said. His face hardened. Think about it? Mama, we're family. Family helps family. And I said I need to think about it. He left, angry, the door slamming behind him. I sat there in the quiet house, the house where I'd lived alone since my husband died 10 years ago, and felt more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. That's when things started getting strange. Terrell and Candace began showing up more often. At first it was sweet, bringing groceries, offering to help with yard work. But then I noticed Candace going through my mail when she thought I wasn't looking. I caught her in my bedroom one day, standing at my dresser. "What are you doing?" I asked. She jumped. "Oh, I thought I'd help you organize. Go through some of your old papers." "I don't need help organizing." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, Mama. I was just trying to help." I started locking my bedroom door after that. I started noticing other things, too. My checkbook went missing for a few days, then reappeared in a different drawer than where I'd left it. My computer, which I barely used, had been moved. One Sunday after church, I pulled Ray aside. We stood in the parking lot while people filed past us, calling out goodbyes and God bless yous. "They're plotting something," I told him. "I can feel it." Ray's jaw tightened. "What kind of something?" "I don't know yet, but Candace has been in my house going through my things. They keep asking about the money, about my accounts, about how I'm managing everything." "Have you given them anything?" "Not a penny." "Good." Ray looked around, making sure no one was close enough to hear. "Listen, I've been thinking. What if you transferred the money to my account, put it in my name? That way, even if they try something, there's nothing for them to take." I stared at him. "You'd do that?" "B, you're my sister. I'd do anything for you. We'll put it in my name legally, write up papers that say it's still yours, that I'm just holding it. Then when this all blows over, when Terrell gets his act together or they give up, we'll transfer it back." It was risky. It meant putting all my trust in Ray, but I'd known my brother for 68 years, and he'd never once let me down. "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." We went to Mr. Foster's office that week. He drew up the papers, a legal document that said Ray was holding the money in trust for me, that I could claim it back at any time. We transferred every penny of that $375,000 to Ray's account. "You're sure about this, Mrs. Washington?" Mr. Foster asked. I looked at Ray, and he nodded at me. "I'm sure." After that, I felt lighter. The money was safe. Whatever Terrell and Candace were planning, they'd find nothing but empty accounts. But I underestimated how desperate they were. 2 weeks later, Ray helped me install security cameras around my house. "Just in case," he said. We put them in the living room, the kitchen, the hallways. The kind that recorded everything and sent it straight to the cloud. "You really think they'd try something?" I asked. Ray looked at me serious. "B, people do crazy things for money, especially that kind of money. I'd rather be safe." I thought he was being paranoid. I thought maybe we were overreacting. I was wrong. Now here I was, my vision tunneling, my body going numb, while Candace pressed the pen into my hand and Terrell held my shoulder down in the chair. "Just sign it, Mama," he was saying. His voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. "Sign it, and this will all be over." I tried to pull my hand away, but I couldn't control my muscles anymore. The pen scratched across the paper, making a jagged line. Not my signature. Not anything close. "Damn it," Candace hissed. "She's too out of it. The signature won't hold up." "Give her more time," Terrell said. "Let it wear off a little." My head dropped forward onto the table. I could hear them talking, hear them arguing about dosages and timing, about how they'd researched this online and knew what they were doing. My own son had drugged me. Through my barely open eyes, I could see Candace's phone on the table. Could see my own phone just out of reach. I tried to move my arm toward it, but nothing happened. My body wouldn't obey anymore. "We'll wait 30 minutes, Candace was saying. Then we'll prop her up and guide her hand. As long as we get something that looks like her signature, we can file these documents before anyone knows what happened." "What if she tells someone?" Terrell asked. "Who's she going to tell?" "She's an old woman. We'll say she's confused, that she's been forgetting things. We'll say she's not capable of managing her own affairs anymore. That's the whole point of the power of attorney." I wanted to scream. I wanted to fight. But all I could do was lie there, helpless, while they planned to steal everything my parents had left me. The minutes crawled by. I felt myself slipping in and out of consciousness. At some point, Candace pulled me upright in the chair, propping me against the table. "Okay," she said. "Let's try this again." She put the pen in my hand, wrapped her fingers around mine. I felt her start to guide my hand toward the signature line on the document. And that's when I heard it, the sound that changed everything. The front door opened. "Beatrice, we're here!" Raymond's voice boomed through my house, and I heard multiple sets of footsteps coming down the hall. Heavy footsteps. Official footsteps. Candace's hand froze on mine. The pen clattered to the table. "What the—" Terrell started to say, but he didn't finish because 2 police officers walked into my kitchen, followed by my brother. "Police! Don't move!" one of the officers shouted. I tried to lift my head, tried to focus my eyes. Everything was still blurry and wrong. But I could see the dark blue uniforms, could see the badges gleaming under my kitchen lights. "What is this?" Terrell said, his voice going high and panicky. "What's going on?" "Step away from Mrs. Washington," the officer commanded. "Both of you, hands where I can see them." Candace jerked back from me like I'd burned her. Terrell raised his hands slowly, his face going gray. Ray pushed past the officers and came to my side. "B? B, can you hear me?" I managed to nod, just barely. "We need an ambulance here," Ray called out. "Now! They drugged her." One of the officers was already on his radio, calling it in. The other, a tall black woman with her hair pulled back tight, was putting handcuffs on Candace. "You have the right to remain silent," she said, her voice crisp and professional. "This is insane!" Candace screamed. "We didn't do anything! We were just having coffee with his mother." "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down," the officer said. The male officer, a younger white guy with red hair, moved toward Terrell. "Sir, I need you to turn around and place your hands behind your back." "Mama," Terrell said, looking at me with wild eyes. "Mama, tell them we were just talking. Tell them—" "Your mother can't tell us anything right now because of what you put in her coffee," Ray said, his voice hard as stone. "But these cameras?" He pointed up at the corner of the kitchen where the small black camera was mounted. "These cameras told us everything." I watched the color drain completely from Terrell's face. "You've been recording us?" Candace shrieked. "That's illegal! You can't record people without their permission." "Actually, ma'am," the female officer said as she finished cuffing her, "in this state you can record anyone in your own home without their knowledge. And what we saw on those recordings is attempted fraud, elder abuse, and felony assault with a dangerous substance." "I want a lawyer," Candace spat. "That's your right," the officer said, and started leading her toward the front door. Terrell was crying now, real tears streaming down his face as the other officer cuffed him. "Mama, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We were just desperate. The debts, the pressure. Mama, please." I wanted to say something. I wanted to tell him how much he'd broken my heart, how I'd given him everything my whole life, and this was how he repaid me. But my tongue still wouldn't work right. All I could do was watch through my drugged haze as they led my son out of my kitchen in handcuffs. The ambulance arrived 7 minutes later, The paramedics, two young black men who looked barely old enough to be out of high school, rushed in with their equipment. "Ma'am, can you tell me your name?" one of them asked, shining a light in my eyes. Beatrice, I managed to slur out. "Do you know what day it is?" I tried to think, but my mind was foggy. Day? "It's Thursday, ma'am." "Do you know what you took? What they gave you?" I shook my head. Ray spoke up. "We found these in the son's car." He held up a prescription bottle. "Looks like some kind of sedative. Diazepam, 10 milligrams. The bottle's nearly empty." The paramedic took the bottle, examined it. "This isn't prescribed to either of them." "Where'd they get it?" "That's something the police will need to figure out," Ray said. They loaded me onto a stretcher. The world tilted and swayed as they carried me out of my house. I could see my neighbors standing on their porches, watching. Mrs. Chen from next door had her hand over her mouth. Young Darius from across the street was recording on his phone. The shame of it hit me then, even through the drugs. Everyone would know. Everyone would see that my own son had done this to me. Ray climbed into the ambulance with me, holding my hand. "It's going to be okay, Bea. You're going to be okay." At the hospital, they pumped me full of fluids and ran tests. The doctor, a tired-looking Indian woman with kind eyes, told me I was lucky. "Whatever they gave you a lot of it," she said. "Another hour without treatment and we'd be having a different conversation. Your brother saved your life by getting there when he did." I was in the hospital for 2 days. The drugs worked their way out of my system slowly, leaving me exhausted and shaky. Ray stayed with me the whole time, sleeping in the chair beside my bed, bringing me real food when I got tired of the hospital meals. On the second day, Detective Morris came to take my statement. He was a middle-aged black man with gray in his beard and a patient way of asking questions. "Mrs. Washington, I need you to tell me everything you remember about Thursday morning," he said, pulling out a notepad. So I told him. About Terrell and Candace showing up unexpected, about the bitter taste in the coffee, about the papers they tried to force me to sign, about feeling my body shut down while they talked about forging my signature. "And you didn't give them permission to transfer any funds or manage your finances?" he asked. "No, sir. Never." "The power of attorney documents they had. Where do you think they got those?" "Probably printed them off the internet," I said. "Candace is always on that computer." Before we continue, if this story resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next story. Detective Morris nodded, writing things down. "We've reviewed the security footage your brother provided. It's very clear what they were trying to do. Combined with the drugs in your system and the documents they brought, we have a solid case for elder abuse, attempted fraud, and felony assault." "What happens now?" I asked. "They've both been arraigned. Bail was set at $50,000 each. They're still in custody as of this morning because neither of them could make bail." Good, I thought. Let them sit in jail and think about what they did. "There's something else," Detective Morris said. "When we searched their house, we found other documents. Bank statements, loan applications, credit card bills. Mrs. Washington, did you know your son and his wife took out loans in your name?" My stomach dropped. "What?" 3 different payday loans, totaling about $15,000. They used your information, your social security number, your address. We found the paperwork in their home office. They've been making payments on them, but barely. This has been going on for about 8 months. 8 months. They'd been stealing my identity for 8 months, and I never knew. "Can they do that?" I asked. "Can they just use my information like that?" "No, ma'am. That's identity theft. It's another felony charge we're adding to their case." After Detective Morris left, I cried. Not the soft, quiet crying I'd done when my parents died. This was ugly crying, the kind that comes from deep in your chest and won't stop. Ray held me while I sobbed, not saying anything, just being there. "How did it come to this?" I asked when I could finally speak. "I raised him better than this. I taught him right from wrong. Where did I go wrong?" "You didn't go wrong," Ray said firmly. "You were a good mother. Terrell made his own choices. Him and that woman he married." "The grandkids," I said suddenly. "Ray, what about Zara and Kamari?" Ray's face got serious. Child services went to the house. "The kids are with Candace's sister right now. They're safe." "Can I see them?" "Eventually. But right now, you need to focus on getting better." I was released from the hospital on Saturday morning. Ray drove me home, and we found Pastor Lewis and half the church deacons waiting on my porch with food. "Sister Beatrice," Pastor Lewis said, pulling me into a gentle hug. He was a big man, over 6 feet tall, with a voice that could shake the rafters when he preached. But right now, he was gentle as a lamb. "We've been praying for you, sister. Praying hard." "Thank you, Pastor." They'd brought enough food to feed an army. Sister Gladys had made her famous chicken and dumplings. Brother Thompson brought a pot of greens. Sister Michelle had baked a chocolate cake that looked like it belonged in a magazine. We all crowded into my living room, the same living room where Terrell had played as a child, and Pastor Lewis led us in prayer. "Lord, we come to you today with heavy hearts," he began. "We lift up Sister Beatrice, who has been wounded by those closest to her. We ask for your healing, your comfort, your justice. We know that you see all things, that nothing is hidden from your sight. We trust in your perfect plan, even when we don't understand it. In Jesus' name, amen." "Amen," everyone echoed. After they left, Ray and I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Terrell and Candace had tried to rob me. Ray had scrubbed it clean, but I could still see it all happening in my mind. "I need to tell you something," Ray said. "Something I found out while you were in the hospital." "What?" "I did some digging into Candace's background. Called some people, asked some questions." He pulled out his phone and showed me a document. "B, this isn't the first time she's done something like this. Back in 2015, before she married Terrell, she was arrested for fraud in Alabama. She was working at a nursing home and got caught stealing from one of the patients." I stared at the document, feeling sick. "Terrell knows about this?" "I don't know, but if he does, and he married her anyway..." Ray shook his head. "And if he doesn't know, then she's been lying to him for their entire marriage." "What else did you find?" "The gambling debts. They're worse than we thought. Terrell owes money to some bad people. People who don't just take you to court when you can't pay. They break your legs." "How much?" "Close to $200,000. Maybe more." I felt dizzy, and I wasn't even drugged anymore. $200,000? He's been gambling online, at the casino, everywhere. Candace wasn't just going along with it. She was encouraging it. I think she figured if he could hit it big, all their problems would be solved. And when that didn't work, they decided to solve their problems by taking your money. "But the money isn't even in my account anymore," I said. "Even if I'd signed those papers, they wouldn't have gotten anything." Ray smiled grimly. "I know. Can you imagine their faces when they went to drain your account and found it empty? That's what we call poetic justice." Monday morning, Mr. Foster called me into his office again. This time, Detective Morris was there too, along with a woman I didn't know. She was black, maybe in her 50s, dressed in a sharp business suit with her locks pulled back in a professional style. "Mrs. Washington, this is Assistant District Attorney Regina Harper," Mr. Foster said. "She's going to be prosecuting your son and daughter-in-law." Ms. Harper shook my hand firmly. "Mrs. Washington, I want you to know we're taking this case very seriously. Elder abuse is a priority for our office, and what happened to you, what your son and his wife did, is particularly egregious." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means we're going to push for maximum penalties. They're facing multiple felony charges. If convicted, they could each serve 10 to 15 years in prison." 10 to 15 years. Terrell would be almost 60 when he got out. The grandkids would be grown. "I know this is hard," Ms. Harper said, reading my face. "He's your son. But you need to understand. If they'd succeeded, if they'd gotten access to your funds and your brother hadn't protected you, you could have lost everything. Your home, your savings, your security. You could have ended up destitute, or worse." "I understand," I said quietly. "There's something else," Detective Morris said. "When we dug deeper into their finances, we found evidence that they were planning to put you in a nursing home." I jerked back like I'd been slapped. "What?" "We found brochures, applications, even emails between Candace and a facility in Florida. They were planning to commit you, claim you had dementia, and take over your house. Sell it, probably, and pocket the money." Florida. They were going to ship me off to Florida and take everything. "I never want to see them again," I said, and I meant it. "I don't care if Terrell is my son. What he did, what they both did, that's not something you come back from." Ms. Harper nodded. "I understand. Are you willing to testify at trial?" "Yes," I said. "I'll testify. I'll tell the jury everything." The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks later. In the meantime, I tried to put my life back together. The church kept bringing food. My neighbors checked on me constantly. Ray came by every day. But the nights were hard. I'd lie in bed in the dark, thinking about Terrell as a baby, as a little boy, as a teenager. Remembering teaching him to ride a bike, helping him with his homework, sitting in the audience at his high school graduation. Where had I lost him? When did he become someone who could drug his own mother? 2 weeks after the attack, I got a letter. It was from the jail, from Terrell. My hands shook as I opened it. "Dear Mama," it began. "I know you probably hate me right now, and you have every right to. What I did was wrong. What we did was wrong. I can't explain it except to say that I was desperate and scared, and I let Candace convince me that this was the only way out. I know that's not an excuse. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But I am sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, if you can find it in your heart, please don't let them take my kids away permanently. Zara and Kamari don't deserve to suffer because of what I did. They love you. They need you. Please, Mama. Love, Terrell." I read the letter 3 times, then put it in a drawer. I didn't know if I believed him. I didn't know if it mattered. The day before the preliminary hearing, Ms. Harper called me with news. "Mrs. Washington, Candace's lawyer has approached us about a plea deal. She's willing to testify against Terrell in exchange for a reduced sentence." "She's going to blame everything on him?" "Essentially, yes. She claims she was coerced, that she was afraid of him, that he masterminded the whole thing." I laughed bitterly. That woman coerced him into everything he's ever done wrong. She's the one who got him back into gambling. She's the one who kept pushing for money. That's what we believe, too. But without hard evidence, it's her word against his. And right now, she has a better lawyer. "What about the fraud conviction in Alabama?" I asked. "Can't you use that?" "We can bring it up, but her lawyer will argue it's not relevant to this case, that she paid her debt to society and shouldn't be punished for past mistakes." Ms. Harper paused. "However, there might be another way." "What way?" "The security footage. There are several hours of recording from the days leading up to the incident. We've been reviewing it all, and we found something interesting. Something we'd like you to look at." The next morning, I sat in the police station watching video footage on a large monitor. Detective Morris and Ms. Harper sat on either side of me. "This is from 3 days before the incident," Detective Morris said, starting the playback. On the screen, I watched Candace and Terrell in my living room. I'd been at the grocery store. They thought they were alone. "Did you get it?" Candace was saying. Terrell pulled a prescription bottle out of his pocket. "Enough for 3 doses, maybe 4. Guy at the casino got it for me." And you're sure this will work? He said 10 milligrams will make her drowsy and confused. 20 will knock her out completely. We'll use 15, enough to make her compliant but not so much that she's unconscious. What if something goes wrong? Terrell asked. What if she... Nothing's going to go wrong, Candace cut him off. We do exactly what we planned. Coffee, pills, papers, in and out. By the time anyone figures out what happened, the money will be transferred and untraceable. And if she tells someone? Then we play the dementia card. We tell everyone she's been forgetting things, getting confused. We show the doctor's note I forged. They'll believe us over her. My hands clenched into fists as I watched. This wasn't desperation. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment mistake. This was premeditated, calculated, cold-blooded. Keep watching, Ms. Harper said. The video jumped forward to the next day. Candace was on her phone. Yeah, it's me, she said to whoever was on the other end. We're doing it Thursday morning. No, she won't remember anything. If this works, I'm thinking we split 3 ways. You, me, and Terrell. He doesn't need to know about your cut yet. Just have the offshore account ready. I turned to Ms. Harper. There's someone else involved? We're working on identifying who she was talking to, but this recording proves several things. 1, this was premeditated. 2, Candace was the clear leader. And 3, there may be additional conspirators. Will this help? Ms. Harper smiled. Mrs. Washington, this video just changed everything. That afternoon, I got another call. This one from Ray. B, you need to sit down for this, he said, his voice tight. What happened? It's the grandkids. Zara called me. She's scared. She says Candace's sister has been talking about taking them out of state, taking them to Texas where she lives. Can she do that? If she has temporary custody and the courts approve it, yes. And with both parents in jail, the courts might see it as the best option for stability. No, I said. Those babies aren't going to Texas. They're staying here. They're staying with family. B, are you saying? I'm saying I want custody. They're my grandchildren. They belong with me. Ray was quiet for a moment. You sure about this? After everything that's happened? They're not their parents, I said. Zara is 12, Kamari is 9. They didn't do anything wrong. And I'm not going to let them grow up thinking their whole family abandoned them. Okay, Ray said. Okay, I'll call the lawyer. We'll start the paperwork. That night, I called the number Ray had given me. A young girl's voice answered. Grandma? Zara said, and I could hear she'd been crying. Hey, baby, it's me. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about what Mama and Daddy did. I didn't know. We didn't know. I know you didn't, sweetheart. This isn't your fault. Are they going to jail? Probably, I said honestly. What they did was very serious. Does that mean we can't come home? Actually, I said, I'm working on bringing you home. To my house. Would you like that? Really? Her voice got higher, hopeful. You'd want us? After what they did? Baby girl, I will always want you. You and your brother are my heart. What your parents did doesn't change that. I heard her start to cry again, but these were different tears, relief tears. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby. Now put your brother on the phone. Kamari got on, his 9-year-old voice trying to sound tough. Hey, Grandma. Hey, strong man. You taking care of your sister? Yes, ma'am. I told her not to cry, but she won't listen. Sometimes crying is okay. Sometimes we need to let it out. Grandma, can I ask you something? Anything. Why did they do it? Mama and Daddy? Why did they try to hurt you? I closed my eyes, trying to find the right words. Sometimes, baby, people get lost. They make bad choices because they're scared or desperate. It doesn't mean they don't love you. but it does mean they made mistakes that have consequences. Are you mad at them? Yes, I said honestly. I'm very mad and very hurt. Are you mad at us? Never. Not for 1 second. That night, for the first time since it all happened, I slept through until morning. I dreamed about Zara and Kamari playing in my backyard, the way Terrell used to when he was young. In the dream, everything was simple and uncomplicated, the way it used to be before money and desperation and bad choices changed everything. The next morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. It was Ms. Harper, and she sounded excited. Mrs. Washington, we've identified the third party Candace was talking to on the phone. Who is it? Her cousin, name's Nicole Wright, and here's the interesting part. She works at a bank. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means she likely would have helped them launder the money, move it through accounts, hide it from authorities. It also means we have her on conspiracy charges. We picked her up an hour ago. Did she talk? Oh, she talked. She's singing like a canary. Gave us everything. Text messages, phone records, even emails about setting up fake accounts. Mrs. Washington, with this evidence, there's no way Candace walks away from this. She's looking at 20 years minimum. 20 years. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. What about Terrell? I asked. His lawyer is pushing hard for a plea deal now, especially since Candace's deal is off the table. He might get 10 years if he pleads guilty and shows remorse. 10 years. Zara would be 22 then. Kamari would be 19. They'd be adults by the time their father got out of prison. Mrs. Washington, there's something else you need to know, Ms. Harper said, her voice changing. Something we discovered during the investigation. What now? The payday loans they took out in your name? They weren't the only identity theft. We found evidence that Candace has been doing this for years. To her own mother, to Terrell's aunt, to elderly patients at the nursing home where she used to work. We're talking about potentially dozens of victims and hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen. I sat down hard on my couch. She's been running a con this whole time? We believe so, and we think Terrell either knew and went along with it or was too blinded by debt to see what was happening. So what happens now? Now? Ms. Harper said. Now we add more charges. Now the FBI gets involved because this crosses state lines. And now, Mrs. Washington, you prepare to testify at what's going to be one of the biggest fraud cases this county has seen in years. I hung up the phone and sat there in silence, looking around my living room. At the photos on the walls, Terrell as a baby, as a little boy, at his wedding. At the Afghan my mother had crocheted draped over the back of the couch. At the Bible on the coffee table that had belonged to my father. Everything my parents had worked for, everything they'd saved, everything they'd left behind. It was all supposed to provide security and peace. Instead, it had revealed the worst in my own child. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Mrs. Washington, this is Judge Patricia Coleman. I'm the family court judge handling your custody petition for your grandchildren. My heart started racing. Yes, ma'am? I've reviewed your application and the circumstances. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning if possible. Can you come to the courthouse at 9? Yes, ma'am. I'll be there. Good. And Mrs. Washington? Bring your brother with you. I'll want to speak with him too. She hung up before I could ask any questions. I called Ray immediately. The judge wants to see us tomorrow, I told him. That's fast. Is that good or bad? With family court, it's hard to say. But Judge Coleman has a reputation for putting kids first. That's in your favor. The next morning, Ray and I sat in Judge Coleman's chambers. She was a black woman in her early 60s with sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. Mrs. Washington, she said, looking over her glasses at me, tell me why you want custody of these children. Because they're my grandchildren, I said simply. Because they didn't do anything wrong. Because they need stability and love, and I can give them that. even though their father tried to drug you and steal from you? They're not their father. How can you be sure they won't be influenced by his behavior, that they won't follow in his footsteps? Because I'm going to love them and guide them and teach them better, the same way I tried to teach their father. Only this time, I'll have help. I gestured to Ray. My brother and I will raise them together. They'll have 2 strong examples instead of just one. Judge Coleman turned to Ray. Mr. Chambers, are you prepared to take on co-guardian responsibilities? Yes, ma'am, Ray said firmly. Those kids need their family, and Bea and I are it. Judge Coleman was quiet for a long moment, studying papers on her desk. Finally, she looked up. I'm granting you temporary custody, effective immediately. The children will be released to you this afternoon. We'll have a follow-up hearing in 6 months to reassess. In the meantime, I'm ordering family counseling for all of you, your brother, and the children. Relief flooded through me so strong I almost cried. Thank you, Judge. Don't thank me yet, Mrs. Washington. Raising teenagers who've been through trauma isn't going to be easy. These children have just seen both their parents arrested. They're going to have questions, anger, confusion. Are you ready for that? I've been through a lot myself recently, I said. So yes, ma'am. I'm ready. That afternoon, Ray and I picked up Zara and Kamari from Candace's sister's house. The sister, a pinched-faced woman named Rochelle, handed over their belongings without a word, clearly relieved to be rid of the responsibility. Zara ran to me the second she saw me, wrapping her arms around my waist. She was almost as tall as me now, all legs and arms and almost teenager. Kamari hung back, trying to be tough, but I could see his lip trembling. Come here, baby boy, I said, and he broke down, running into my arms. We stood there in Rochelle's driveway, the 3 of us holding each other while Ray loaded their bags into his truck, and I made a silent promise to my parents, to God, to myself. I would not fail these children the way I'd failed their father. Whatever it took, however hard it got, I would love them and protect them and teach them right. Even if it killed me. That night, after we'd gotten the kids settled into the guest rooms at my house, Zara in one, Kamari in the other, Ray and I sat on the back porch drinking sweet tea and watching the fireflies. You did good today, Bea, Ray said. We did good, I corrected. You know this is just the beginning, right? The trial, the kids adjusting, rebuilding your life. It's all going to be hard. I know. But you're not alone. I'm with you every step. I know that too. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the cicadas and the distant sound of the kids talking upstairs. Life wasn't going to be easy. The road ahead was going to be long and painful. But for the first time since all this started, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was going to be okay. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you won? It said. You took everything from us. We'll make you pay. This isn't over. I showed it to Ray. His face went dark. Forward that to Detective Morris, now. You think it's Candace? Or someone working for her? Either way, they're threatening you. That's another charge. I forwarded the message, then blocked the number. But the damage was done. The peace I'd felt a moment ago evaporated like morning dew. Ray, I said quietly, what if they come after the kids? What if they try to hurt them to get back at me? Ray's jaw set firm. Then we'll be ready. Starting tomorrow, we're installing more security. Cameras outside, alarm system, the works. And I'm moving in for a while. Just until we know everyone's behind bars for good. You'd do that? Bea, you're my sister. Those are my grandniece and grandnephew. Of course I do that. That night, I lay in bed listening to the house settle. I could hear Zara crying softly in the next room. I went to her, sat on the edge of her bed, and stroked her hair the way I used to when she was little. I miss them, she whispered. Even though I'm mad at them, I miss them. That's okay, baby. Love and anger can exist at the same time. You're allowed to feel both. Will I ever see them again? Eventually, when they've paid their debt and proven they've changed. But it won't be soon. Good, she said fiercely. I don't want to see them, not after what they did to you. I kept stroking her hair until she fell asleep, then went to check on Kamari. He was already asleep, curled up with the stuffed lion I'd bought him for his 6th birthday. He still looked like a baby when he slept. Back in my room, I knelt beside my bed like I used to when I was young, when Mama taught me to pray before sleeping. Lord, I whispered, I don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know how this story ends. But I trust you. Help me be strong for these children. Help me forgive, even when it seems impossible. And Lord, please, my voice broke, please help Terrell find his way back to the man I raised him to be. I climbed into bed and closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept going back to that text message. This isn't over. They were right. It wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The security system installation started at 8 the next morning. Ray had called in favors from his buddies at the community center, 2 men named Jerome and Antoine who used to work in home security before they retired. They spent the whole day running wires, mounting cameras, installing motion sensors on every door and window. This is Fort Knox level, Jerome said, showing me the control panel on my phone. You'll get an alert if so much as a squirrel walks past your front door. Good, I said. That's exactly what I need. Zara watched them work with curious eyes. Grandma, are we in danger? I'd promised myself I wouldn't lie to these children. We're being cautious, baby. That's all. It's because of them, isn't it? Mama and Daddy. I pulled her close. It's because I want to make sure you and your brother are safe. That we're all safe. Detective Morris came by that afternoon to talk about the threatening text. He sat at my kitchen table, the same table where everything had happened, with his notepad open. We traced the number, he said. It's a burner phone, bought with cash at a convenience store 3 blocks from the county jail. No way to prove who bought it, but the timing is suspicious. Could someone have smuggled a phone into the jail? Ray asked. Possible, but unlikely. More likely someone on the outside is acting on their behalf. He looked at me seriously. Mrs. Washington, I need you to take this threat seriously. Don't go anywhere alone. Keep your doors locked. If you see anything suspicious, call 911 immediately. We're already on it, Ray said, gesturing to the cameras being installed. Good, because there's something else you need to know. Detective Morris flipped through his notes. Remember Candace's cousin Nicole? The one who was helping them launder money? Yes. She's cooperating fully now, and she's given us names. It turns out Candace was part of a larger network. People who specifically target elderly family members. They share tips, strategies, even forged documents. We're talking about an organized fraud ring operating across 3 states. I felt sick. How many people? We've identified at least 15 members so far. Could be more. The FBI is taking over the investigation because it crosses state lines. This is bigger than we initially thought. And they all know about me now? I asked. They all know I exposed Candace? Detective Morris didn't answer right away, which was answer enough. We're putting a patrol car on your street for the next few weeks, he said finally, just as a precaution. After he left, I found Kamari in the backyard, throwing a basketball at the hoop Ray had installed that morning. He was missing more shots than he made, getting more frustrated with each miss. Want some company? I asked. He shrugged, which I'd learned meant yes. I sat on the porch steps watching him. Finally he said, Uncle Ray told me Daddy might go to jail for a long time. That's true. Because of what he did to you. Yes. He threw the ball hard at the basket. It bounced off the rim and rolled into the grass. I hate him, Kamari, I do. I hate him and I hate Mama and I hate that we had to leave our house and our school and our friends. He was crying now, angry tears streaming down his face. Why did they have to ruin everything? I went to him, pulled him close even though he tried to pull away. It's okay to be angry, baby. It's okay to hate what they did. But don't let that hate live in your heart forever. It'll eat you up from the inside. Did you forgive them? He asked, his voice muffled against my shoulder. Not yet, I said honestly, but I'm working on it. For my sake, not theirs. That night at dinner, Ray's famous spaghetti and meatballs, Zara asked the question I'd been dreading. Grandma, the money Mama and Daddy tried to steal, is it still there? Are we going to be okay? I looked at Ray. He nodded slightly. The money is safe, I said. Your great-grandparents left it for me, and it's protected now. We're going to be more than okay. Can we use some of it? Kamari asked. For stuff we need? Like what? I need new shoes, and Zara's laptop is old and slow, and maybe we could fix up our rooms a little? Such simple requests, such normal kid things. My heart broke a little. Yes, I said. We can do all of that. Tomorrow we'll go shopping. Zara's eyes got wide. Really? Really. And after that, we'll stop by the school and get you both registered. You start on Monday. What if the kids ask about Mama and Daddy? Zara asked quietly. Then you tell them whatever you're comfortable telling them. Or you tell them it's private. You don't owe anyone your story, baby girl. The trial started 3 weeks later. The courtroom was packed. News reporters, curious spectators, members of the church who'd come to support me. I sat in the front row with Ray on one side and Ms. Harper on the other. Terrell and Candace were brought in separately, both wearing orange jumpsuits and handcuffs. Terrell looked thin and gray like he'd aged 10 years in jail. He glanced at me once, his eyes pleading, but I looked away. Candace looked defiant. Her jaw was set, her eyes hard. When she saw me, she smirked. The judge, a stern white man named Judge Bradley, called the court to order. We're here today for the trial of Terrell Washington and Candace Washington on charges of elder abuse, attempted fraud, felony assault, identity theft, and conspiracy. How do the defendants plead? Terrell's lawyer, a young black man in an ill-fitting suit, stood up. Your Honor, my client wishes to enter a guilty plea on all charges. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Candace's lawyer, an expensive-looking white woman with perfect hair, stood quickly. Your Honor, my client maintains her innocence and demands a trial by jury. Judge Bradley nodded. Very well. Mr. Washington, we'll proceed to sentencing after lunch. Mrs. Washington, we'll begin jury selection tomorrow. During the lunch recess, Ms. Harper pulled me aside. Terrell pleading guilty is good for us. It strengthens our case against Candace. She can't claim he coerced her if he's admitting full responsibility. Will I have to testify? I asked. Yes, probably multiple times. Are you ready for that? I thought about it. Ready to face my son in open court? Ready to tell strangers how he drugged me and tried to steal from me? Ready to watch him be sentenced to prison? Yes, I said. I'm ready. Before we continue, quick question. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. The sentencing hearing that afternoon was brief. Judge Bradley read through the charges, the evidence, Terrell's confession. Then he looked at my son. Mr. Washington, do you have anything to say before I pass sentence? Terrell stood slowly. His chains rattled. Your Honor, I just want to say I'm sorry. To the court, to society, and most of all to my mother. He turned to look at me, tears streaming down his face. Mama, I know sorry doesn't fix what I did. I know I broke your heart and your trust. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I want you to know that I loved you. I still love you. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to become the man you raised me to be. I felt tears on my own cheeks, but I didn't wipe them away. I just stared at him, this man who used to be my little boy. "I'm doing this for Zara and Kamari," he continued. "I'm pleading guilty so they don't have to sit through a long trial, so they don't have to hear all the ugly details. I want them to remember at least some good about their father, even if it's just that at the end, I finally did the right thing." Judge Bradley was unmoved. "Mr. Washington, your crimes were calculated, premeditated, and directed at your own mother, a woman who raised you, loved you, and trusted you. You exploited that trust in the most despicable way possible. The court finds that you pose a continued danger to elderly family members and society at large." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I hereby sentence you to 12 years in state prison, with the possibility of parole after 8 years if you complete all required rehabilitation programs and maintain good behavior. You will also be required to pay full restitution for all financial damages, including the identity theft, legal fees, and medical expenses incurred by your mother." 12 years. Zara would be 24. Kamari would be 21. They led Terrell out of the courtroom. He looked back at me one more time, mouthing, "I love you." I couldn't say it back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Candace's trial took 3 days. Ms. Harper was masterful, presenting the security footage, the financial records, the testimony from Nicole and other members of the fraud ring. She called Detective Morris to the stand, then the paramedics who'd treated me, then the pharmacist who'd reported the suspicious prescription. On the second day, I took the stand. "Mrs. Washington," Ms. Harper said, "can you tell the jury what happened on the morning of October 24th? I told them everything. About the bitter coffee, about feeling my body shut down, about Candace forcing the pen into my hand while Terrell held me down, about hearing them plan to forge my signature and put me in a nursing home. And at any point, did you give them permission to access your finances or make decisions on your behalf? Never. Did you know your daughter-in-law had a previous conviction for fraud? I didn't know until after the attack. If you had known, would you have allowed her in your home? Absolutely not." Candace's lawyer tried to tear me apart on cross-examination. She suggested I was confused, that maybe I'd given them permission and forgotten. She implied I was exaggerating my symptoms for sympathy. She even suggested that maybe I'd drugged myself accidentally and blamed them. But I held firm. I'd lived through 68 years of life, survived my husband's death, buried my parents, and been betrayed by my own son. I wasn't about to let some fancy lawyer shake me. On the third day, the prosecution called their surprise witness, Rochelle, Candace's sister. "Ms. Wright," Ms. Harper said, "how would you describe your sister's relationship with money?" Rochelle looked uncomfortable. "Candace has always been obsessed with it. Even as kids, she was always scheming, always looking for angles." "Did she ever discuss Mrs. Washington with you?" "Yes. She called her the Golden Goose. Said once Terrell's parents died and left money, all their problems would be solved." "Did she say how she planned to access that money?" Rochelle hesitated, then nodded. "She said old people were easy targets, that they trusted family, that all you had to do was wait for the right moment and strike." The courtroom erupted. Judge Bradley had to bang his gavel 3 times to restore order. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, Candace stood rigid as the foreman read the verdict. "On the charge of elder abuse, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of attempted fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of felony assault, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of identity theft, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty." Guilty on all counts. Candace's face crumpled. She started screaming, fighting against the bailiffs as they tried to restrain her. "This is bullshit! That old woman is lying! She wanted to give us the money! She promised!" They dragged her out, still screaming. Judge Bradley set sentencing for the following week. When that day came, he looked at Candace with open disgust. Mrs. Washington, you are a predator. You specifically targeted vulnerable elderly people, including your own husband's family. You showed no remorse, no conscience, no humanity. The court finds that you are beyond rehabilitation." He leaned forward. "I hereby sentence you to 25 years in state prison without the possibility of parole. You will never again have the opportunity to victimize another elderly person. In addition, you are ordered to pay $500,000 in restitution to Mrs. Beatrice Washington and to the other victims your fraud ring has harmed." 25 years. Candace would be 68 when she got out, my age now. After the sentencing, reporters swarmed me outside the courthouse. I made a brief statement Ray had helped me write. "I hope my story serves as a warning," I said into the cameras. "Elder abuse is real. Financial exploitation of seniors is an epidemic. If you're an elderly person being pressured by family members, if something feels wrong, please reach out to authorities. And if you're a family member who's even considering taking advantage of an elderly relative, don't. The consequences will haunt you for the rest of your life." The story made national news. I was invited on talk shows, asked to speak at conferences about elder abuse prevention. I declined most of them. This wasn't about fame. It was about justice. The FBI investigation into the fraud ring continued for months. They arrested 14 more people across 3 states, recovered over $2 million that had been stolen from elderly victims. Some of those victims were able to get their money back. Others had lost everything and would never recover it. But I was lucky. My money was safe in Ray's account, earning interest. When the legal dust settled, we transferred it all back to my name, minus a generous thank you gift I insisted Ray accept for protecting me. The custody hearing in March was just a formality. Judge Coleman reviewed the counselors' reports. Zara and Kamari were thriving, adjusting well, making good grades, and granted me permanent custody. "Mrs. Washington," she said, "you've turned a tragic situation into a triumph. These children are lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have them," I said. Spring came, and with it, new beginnings. Zara made honor roll and joined the school choir. Kamari made the basketball team. Ray moved back to his own house but came for dinner 3 times a week. I sold my parents' house, couldn't bear to live with those memories, and used part of the insurance money to buy a bigger place with a yard large enough for the kids to play. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a big kitchen where I could cook Sunday dinners for the church friends who'd supported me through everything. I used more of the money to set up college funds for Zara and Kamari. They'd never have to worry about student loans. They'd never have to make desperate choices because of money. They'd have opportunities their father never had. Pastor Lewis asked me to speak to the congregation one Sunday in May. I stood at that pulpit, looking out at all the faces that had held me up through the darkest time of my life. "I want to thank you all," I said, "for the meals, the prayers, the visits, the support. You showed me what true Christian love looks like. You reminded me that family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up when you need them most." There wasn't a dry eye in the church. Summer came. On a warm Saturday in June, we had a party in the backyard of my new house. Church friends, neighbors, Ray's kids and grandkids, kids from Zara and Kamari's school. Someone set up a grill. Someone else brought a speaker for music. Kids ran through the sprinkler while adults sat in lawn chairs, talking and laughing. I watched Zara teaching a younger girl to do cartwheels. Watched Kamari playing basketball with his Uncle Ray, both of them trash-talking and laughing. Watched my community, my real family, celebrating life and survival and new beginnings. "You did good, Bee," Sister Gladys said, sitting down next to me with a plate of potato salad. "Look at those babies, happy and healthy. That's all because of you." "Because of all of us," I corrected. "I couldn't have done it alone. Still, you're raising them right. Breaking the cycle." Breaking the cycle. That's exactly what I was doing. Teaching them about honesty, integrity, hard work. Teaching them that money isn't worth your soul. Teaching them to value people over possessions. That night, After everyone had gone home and the kids were in bed, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea. My phone buzzed with a notification from the prison system. Terrell had sent a letter, his third one. The first two I'd thrown away unread. This time, I opened it. "Dear Mama," it began. "I'm writing to tell you I don't expect anything from you. No forgiveness, no visits, no relationship. I know I destroyed that. I'm writing because my counselor says I need to take accountability, and I want to do that. I was wrong. Not just about drugging you and trying to steal from you. I was wrong about everything. Wrong about gambling. Wrong about letting Candace control my life. Wrong about thinking money would solve my problems. I've been attending classes here. Got my GED, even though I already had a high school diploma, just to prove I could finish something. I'm taking anger management, financial literacy, substance abuse counseling. I'm trying to become someone better. Someone you might have been proud of if I'd been this person earlier." The kids wrote to me last month. Just a short letter, but it meant everything. Zara said she's doing well. Kamari said he made the basketball team. They said you're taking good care of them. Thank you for that. Thank you for being the parent I failed to be. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but if you ever find it in your heart to grant it, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn it. Your son, Terrell. I read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and put it in my Bible. Not because I'd forgiven him. I hadn't, not completely. But because someday I might want to remember that even people who hurt us can try to change. Later that week, I wrote him back. Just a short letter. "Terrell, I got your letter. I'm glad you're getting help. I'm glad you're trying to change. The kids are doing well. I'll tell them you asked about them. Maybe someday we can rebuild something, but not today, not yet. Stay strong, Mama." I mailed it before I could change my mind. In August, the federal government sent me a check for $25,000, my share of the recovered money from the fraud ring prosecution. I donated it to a local nonprofit that helped elderly people who'd been victims of financial exploitation. "Why'd you do that?" Ray asked when I told him. "You could have kept it. Lord knows you earned it." "I have enough," I said. "More than enough. Other people need it more." September brought new school year routines, packing lunches, checking homework, attending parent-teacher conferences. Normal things, beautiful things. Things I'd thought I'd never do again after my own child betrayed me. One evening in October, a year after the attack, I took the kids to visit my parents' graves. We brought flowers, pulled weeds, sat on the grass while I told them stories about their great-grandparents. They would have loved you so much," I said. "You would have loved them too." "Do you think they know?" Zara asked. "About what happened? About Daddy?" "I think they know everything," I said. "And I think they're proud of how we survived it." "Are you proud of us, Grandma?" Kamari asked. "Every single day." On the drive home, Zara said quietly, "I think I'm ready to see Daddy. Not Mama, never Mama, but Daddy. I think I want to visit him." "Me too," Kamari added. I looked at them in the rearview mirror. They were growing up so fast, making their own choices, finding their own path to healing. "Okay," I said. "We'll arrange it." The visit was scheduled for November. The three of us made the 2-hour drive to the state prison. I'd been dreading this, but the kids needed it. They needed to see their father, to hear him say he was sorry, to start building whatever relationship they could salvage from the wreckage. We sat in a sterile visiting room across from Terrell, who looked older and thinner, but somehow more present than he'd been in years. He cried when he saw the kids, apologized over and over, asked about school, about their friends, about their lives. "I'm proud of you," he told them, "both of you. And I'm grateful you're being raised by someone who knows how to love you right." It wasn't enough. It could never be enough. But it was a start. On the drive home, Kamari fell asleep in the back seat. Zara looked out the window for a long time before saying, "Grandma, I forgive him. Not for you, for me. I don't want to carry the anger anymore." That's very mature of you, baby. But I'll never forget what he did. And I'll never let anyone treat me like that. Good, I said. Don't ever forget. The scars we carry teach us how to protect ourselves. Christmas that year was beautiful. A real tree in the corner, presents underneath, my whole family. Ray, his kids, the grandkids, church friends, crammed into my new house. We sang carols, ate too much, laughed until our stomachs hurt. This was my life now. Not the life I'd planned when I inherited that money, but a better one. A real one. A life built on truth and love and hard-won wisdom. Late Christmas night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were asleep, I stood at my kitchen window looking out at the backyard. The security lights Ray had installed cast everything in a soft glow. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the drugging, the trial, the healing. I thought about how close I'd come to losing everything. My money, my dignity, maybe even my life. But I hadn't lost it. I'd protected it by trusting my brother when trust was hard. I'd reclaimed it by standing up in court and telling my truth. I'd multiplied it by pouring it into my grandchildren's future. The money my parents left me wasn't just sitting in a bank account anymore. It was living, breathing, growing. It was college funds and new basketball shoes and a safe home and second chances. It was everything they'd worked for, everything they'd hoped for, coming to life in ways they never imagined. And me? I was still standing. 69 years old, raising 2 teenagers, building a new life from the ashes of betrayal. Some days were hard. Some days I cried. Some days I was so angry I could barely see straight. But most days I was grateful. Grateful I'd survived. Grateful I'd had the wisdom to protect myself. Grateful for Ray and the church and the law and everyone who'd shown up when I needed them most. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. There it was. The inheritance, safe and growing, ready to fund dreams and opportunities for generations to come. I smiled. They'd tried to take everything from me. Instead, I'd taken everything back. And I'd won. That's all for today's story. If this touched your heart, please subscribe and share your own experiences below. We're all in this together.